What's up guys, I'm Zesty. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my very first DIY video. I'm very excited to tell you guys that I have made my own beeswax wraps and they are super easy to make. If you're not familiar with beeswax wraps, they are a great alternative for plastic cling wrap, Ziploc bags, or any sort of plastic material that you generally use to store food in, with just a few exceptions. But these are really great because they're eco-friendly, they are antibacterial, and they'll last you about 6 months to a year depending on how well you take care of them. They're really great for molding onto bowls that you want to throw in the fridge, for half pieces of onion, half pieces of apple, vegetables, and I've made this pouch specifically for storing things that you want a tight seal around. I love using this pouch for bread or for fresh herbs such as cilantro or parsley. I find that the beeswax wrap actually helps keep your food a lot fresher, longer, and I love that it's natural. So you're not putting plastic directly on your food, and at the end of the day, you're producing less waste and you're helping out the environment a little bit by doing these. These are also great because once you're done using them, as long as you've used cotton or linen to make them, they are fully compostable, so you're not throwing them in the trash. Anyways, let's get to it. For your beeswax wraps, you are going to need some parchment paper as well as some beeswax. I used 100% pure organic beeswax, and this is also a block of beeswax, but you can also buy pellets on Amazon or at your local health food store. If you're using a block like me, you're also going to need a grater to grate it onto your fabric. For your fabric, you're going to want to use some linen or some cotton. I use these really cute tea towels, but you can even use old bed sheets if you wanted to. Just make sure that you wash and dry these before starting your project. You're also going to need an iron and an ironing board or a spot to safely iron and press your beeswax wraps. You're also going to need some scissors and a pencil to line and cut your wraps. For the pouch, you're gonna need some thread to sew your pouch together, and this is optional, but I used a wire hanger with some clips to hang my beeswax wraps while they dried. I'm gonna get started by showing you the circular shaped beeswax wrap. I used a big bowl and I just placed it on top of my fabric, and then I lined it with my pencil and used my scissors to cut it out. When you're cutting your shape, don't worry too much about your fabric fraying. You can totally fix that once you've added your beeswax and you've cooled your wraps, and I'll show you how to do that later on in the video. Once you have your desired shape, you are going to want to grab your parchment paper, and you're going to want to place your fabric on top and grab your grater and your beeswax. You're going to want to grate enough wax to cover the shape of your fabric. I like grating it right on top because that way I can see how much I need, and once I get a big mound of it, I just spread it over the fabric like so. So now you can go ahead and grab your parchment paper and place it over the fabric with the wax. We're gonna grab our iron and put it on high heat and press the beeswax into the fabric. So here what I'm doing is I'm just ironing over the fabric, and I really just want to get all of that beeswax melted and saturated into the fabric. So you're gonna wanna keep doing this until all of the beeswax is fully melted and saturated right into your wrap. And if you notice that there's any spots that need a little bit of extra wax, that's no problem at all. Just peel back your parchment paper, add a little bit more wax to the area, put your parchment paper back on, and keep going. Once you're done with that step, you can peel your parchment paper back and grab your hanger and your clips to hang dry your wrap. This will only take a couple of minutes for it to dry before you can start using it. To make this pouch, I used half of an IKEA tea towel. The measurements are about 11 by 18 inches in case you want to use your own fabric to make this. You're gonna wanna repeat the same steps that I showed you in making the previous beeswax wrap, and you wanna make sure that your wrap is completely dry before you sew it into a pouch. Once your wrap is dry and ready to go, you can prepare your thread by running it across your wax and threading your needle. And once you've thread your needle, you're gonna wanna put a double knot on your string so that it's fully secure when you're sewing your pouch. Once your thread is ready, go ahead and fold your wrap in half like so, and just press it down to make sure that it's even and secure while you're sewing. Once that's ready, you can go ahead and start sewing. I did a simple running stitch along the edge of both sides of the pouch, and I left about 1 centimeter of space on the top on each side. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're using enough tension so that your stitch is secure, but you don't have to worry too much about what it's going to look like because we are going to turn the pouch inside out, so you're not actually going to see the stitch. Once you're done stitching both sides, your pouch is gonna look something like this, and at this point we can turn the pouch inside out. I will warn you that this part is a little tricky just because the wax is sticky and a little bit stiff, but that's totally normal. Just take your time and you can use your hands and your fingers to push the corners out. And once you've pushed the corners out, you can adjust the edges by pressing the seam inward so that it's on the inside of the pouch. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna finish sewing up the top corners of the pouch, and I just did a simple stitch just so that it would hold together, and I did that on both sides. Once you're done, your pouch is gonna look something like this. If you want your pouch to be a little bit flatter on the edges, you can place a piece of parchment paper on the inside of the pouch and then place another piece of parchment paper on top of your pouch and just go over it with your iron so that it's nice and neat. Once you're done making all of your wraps, you can clean up the edges with a pair of scissors, and since the edges are now covered in wax, it's gonna be super easy to cut off any frays or imperfections, and you're gonna be able to get these really nice edges. And that's it, guys, we're done, and now you have these wonderful, amazing beeswax wraps. For more info on how to handle and care for your beeswax wraps, please see the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my channel to see new videos every week.